Yo, what is good everyone? It is your boy OJ here coming at you with this video here, and I want to talk about a couple things. I touched on it if you've seen my last video with Masahiro Sakurai and Mr. Kimishima, but to focus on Mr. Kimishima here, I think it's been a respectable amount of time since Iwata's unfortunate passing, and I did want to talk about this earlier, but not so close to the actual time. But Mr. Kimishima, he's the new president of Nintendo, of course, and he has a lot of stuff that he has to do. Now, I'm not trying to put importance as far as what he needs to do first, second, third, or fourth, but I do want to get you guys, the loyal fans out there, what do you guys think that his most important task for Mr. Kimishima to do in this upcoming generation? Nintendo has a brand new platform or platforms that they're going to be launching probably in 2016, maybe 2017, according to some people. And they also have platforms that they need to sustain, at least at this point, up until next year. Now, there's already software coming out for the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS, but it's really going to be the Nintendo NX and what comes of it that defines Mr. Kimishima if he isn't replaced by next year. And the one thing that I think Mr. Kimishima really needs to do, what he really needs to do is fan feedback and listening to kind of what the fans have to say, whether they're critical, whether they're positive. That's the one thing that he needs to do as far as listening to feedback and implementing that feedback into their systems. I think that Nintendo does a great job with software. They're the best with software when it comes to making first-party games for the most part. I think they do the best job of that, and they put out quality titles each year. But one of the things that's really lacking in their systems, and of course everybody's complained about it, is the features and is the stuff, and which is the shocking lack of even the most basic things that third-party developers have done on the systems that they're on, but somehow Nintendo doesn't. Nintendo's core teams decide that they don't need to do that. So obviously making sure that your system supports all of the stuff that gamers want to see from a feature standpoint is going to be very important going forward. And I think that goes without saying, to be honest, but I just wanted to just say it again because I think it's a really important thing. And just listening to that fan feedback, having that platform, not only does it have the things that gamers want, but it also can expand. Obviously the Microsoft and Sony, they don't come like when they launched in 2013. Did they have every single feature? No. Is there stuff that they have to add over time? Yeah, that's cool. And that's the same thing with Nintendo with the NX. They don't have to launch like with every single thing in the world. All it needs to do is launch with a respectable amount of stuff, the basic things, and they can add on from there. So making sure that this system that they're coming out with the NX is fully scalable, can make sure it can be upgraded and added new features. That's the one big thing, because I think one of the big downfalls with the Wii U is that it was so static. Like you could not do anything really afterwards. Nintendo put out, I think, 2 major updates. One to where like off TV play with in Wii mode, and they put out like, what was it, a speed boost and a quick menu. Speed boost, quick menu, and like off TV play, and a couple little changes, some Miiverse changes here and there, but nothing major. They didn't really add anything that people really wanted as far as the stuff like peer-to-peer chat. They have that clunky video chat that nobody uses, no party chat, no things like that. So just making sure that you have a system that can be upgraded. Not that you have everything at launch, but just making sure that it can be updated appropriately when the feedback comes in. Another thing that I want to talk about that Mr. Kimishima needs to do is third party. So this has been something that has been talked about and told about, and you'll have these people, really people that are kind of delusional, say that Nintendo doesn't necessarily need third parties, and I am not in that boat at all. I'm in the boat of Nintendo needs not full third-party support. Now, do they need to get every single major third-party game that launches? No, because they have a first-party studio that can be more than willing to fill the gaps. The problem with the Wii U is that Nintendo picked the wrong software. They had a lot of stuff in the platforming genre, a lot of stuff in the minigame genre, and they didn't really have stuff in the RPG genre. They didn't really have stuff open world action games. I mean, they had a few here and there, but there was a lot of holes in the lineup. Nintendo can get the big ones, like they can get Call of Duty, they can possibly get like Assassin's Creed, they can get the big ones here and there, but the little bit lesser ones, like maybe say something like Dying Light, which is still a good game, don't get me wrong, but do they need stuff like that all the time? No. Get some of them? Yes, but do they need all of them? I don't think so. I think stuff like from Bethesda, they need that. Obviously, indies are important, but Nintendo has a first-party studio with so many IPs, and if they took advantage of those IPs, they necessarily don't need everything like Microsoft and Sony, because Microsoft and Sony's first-party studios, while good, definitely don't compare to Nintendo's as far as IP range and the amount of IPs that they have. So Nintendo just needs to make sure that they fill the gaps. Nintendo has every single genre that you can think about. They have action adventure, they have RPGs, they have horror, they have everything. They just didn't utilize it in the Wii U lifespan. They just didn't utilize it. They picked a lot of, they were still trying to market to casuals. So you saw stuff like Wii Fit U resources that could have went to other type of games, because they felt, or at least they stubbornly thought that they were going to get third-party support with that type of system. But just bringing out the full range and making sure that they talk to third parties, Mr. Kimishima needs to make sure that he does that, and that starts with building a system, of course, that they want to develop on. Now, will they get everything? Will there still be excuses from third parties? Yes. Yes, there will still be excuses from some third parties because they feel that the sales won't be there, and that's cool. So like, if this NX thing turns out to be what people are saying it is and what Nintendo has hinted, which is a unified platform between their console and their handheld, having to make one game and you get that on both platforms is really good. It is definitely really good, and especially if it's going to be a disc and people can just buy one disc, put it inside their NX console, put it inside their NX portable, they're good to go, or digital. Or you get a digital copy. Something like that can be really good for third-party developers because they're going to have a good substantial base to put their games out on. That it's going to be enough because you're going to be selling 2 devices. So it's going to be interesting to see how Mr. Kimishima handles third-party developers. And the last thing that I want to talk about that Mr. Kimishima needs to do is kind of what I alluded to in my last point, and that is game selection. I think this generation, Nintendo has probably had some of the worst game selection because of the abandonment of the casuals. You can't waste resources on a system that supposedly was for the core gamers. You can't waste resources on stuff like Wii Fit U. Obviously, I understand like Wii Fit was a huge success, but Wii Fit U was not. You're having resources on mini game collections. You're having resources on all these different games, and you're kind of selling the same game to the audience that's going to buy it anyway. In my opinion, I think people who buy a game like Super Mario 3D World, who buy a system for a game like Super Mario 3D World, are the same people who are going to pick up Mario Party 10 or whatever, or the next Mario Party that comes out. There's no need to make both of them in such close proximity or even within a year or two from each other or anything like that. Nintendo needs to make sure that they have a little bit more range, and I think Mr. Kimishima needs to plan with his development studios like, okay, you're making this type of game, an action adventure. You're making an RPG, like a big RPG. You're making a horror game. You're making shoot 'em up. You're making this, and it can't be delayed. It can't be to the point to where it comes out 3 to 4 years in the lifespan like Nintendo did, or like more than a year after the lifespan, 2 years, like where we start seeing like Hyrule Warriors, Bayonetta and all that. That type of stuff has to come out in the first year. It can't be the second or third year or fourth year. Like we're finally getting Star Fox going into the 4th year of the Wii U. That type of stuff cannot happen with the Nintendo NX. Star Fox, F-Zero, these type of games, it doesn't necessarily have to be those franchises, but those type of games need to come out in year 1, and it needs to be continuous. There doesn't need to be more than 3 or 4 platformers or mini game collections in any one given year, considering those do not move systems. Now they sell, but they sell to the same people who are going to be picking up the new Super Mario game. So there's no need to put out another game like that so close. You need to make sure that you have a little bit bigger, wider range, because that's how you get people to buy your system. It's when you have that type of variety that draws in all types of people. Most people who like platformers or whatever, if they're going to play a Mario Party, they're probably going to like Super Mario, like a 3D Super Mario game or a 2D Super Mario game. So there's no need, in my opinion, there's no need to put out those type of games consecutively, which Nintendo did quite a bit with stuff like Game & Wario, things like that. I would have rather taken a 3DS port instead of Game & Wario. Something like that that might draw in new people, like an RPG 3DS port, something, whatever, Fire Emblem Awakening, I don't care. Something instead of a game like Game & Wario, because you already had Nintendo Land, which is a superior minigame collection. So anybody who really wanted a great minigame collection already probably picked up a Wii U with Nintendo Land. So there's no need to continue to make more of those. You've already got the people who want that have the system. So you need to make sure that there's variety. And that's the thing with Nintendo. They have variety, but it came really late. It came 2 years afterwards, and the PS4 and Xbox One were already out. And they were showing off stuff, the big third-party games, obviously, and with a lot of different variety. Now, the quality of those games is up to anybody's interpretation, whatever. But the thing is that there was variety there. There was RPGs, there was shooting, there was all sorts of stuff like that. Whereas Nintendo had They had some variety. They had like Wonderful 101 and Pikmin and stuff like that, but there was a lot of stuff that people already bought the system for, so therefore you didn't see more sales. Nintendo needs to make sure that they bring out that variety and bring out those different genres so they can really touch every single fan base, as far as what to pick up. And those are my points. I think Mr. Kimishima, I think he's going to do a good job. Obviously, I think that they've learned from what the Wii U did, because Mr. Kimishima said that he didn't like the Wii U, that he said that he was not, he felt that it was too similar to the Wii. And yeah, looking at it from the very beginning, especially 2013, it's very similar. I mean, I like the games, but at the same time, I knew that they needed more. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting. I think Mr. Kimishima is still the right dude. I made that video. I think he's the right guy for the job. Eventually, they're going to have to replace him. He is a little bit on the older side. They're going to definitely have to replace him later. But for right now, and I think in the meantime, in the present, I think it's cool to let him launch this system, let him fix the wrongs that the Wii U had. And I think the dude, he's no nonsense. Like, if you look at him, like, he looks hardcore. Like, the dude looks like he's ready to get down to business. I mean, he worked at a bank for nearly 30 years, and you know how dudes that work at banks are. I mean, those people are straight business. They look at what works, what doesn't work. Let's go with what works, and they don't take a ton of different chances. Trust me. Anybody who's worked at a bank, like a big bank, knows about that. So he was part of that, and his bank that he worked at was very successful. So I think he's going to bring over that expertise over to managing Nintendo, of course with help from the people around him. So let me know what you guys think. What are your important keys for Mr. Kimishima going forward with Nintendo, the launch of the NX, and all that good stuff? I would love to hear them in the comment section below. Alright, so that basically wraps it up for this video. Make sure you hit that like button if you did like it. Lets me know you guys want more content just like this. And also subscribe to PlayerEssence for more news, reviews, trailers, tips, and tricks. Thank you so much, guys, and we will see you guys for the next episode. Peace.